Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for Fronteras, A Changing America. I'm Scott Brocato. The Las Cruces Police Department hosted an interactive town hall meeting at the Las Cruces Home Builders Association event hall. The format of the meeting allowed for open conversations between the department and community members. KRWG Public Media fellow Abigail Salas attended the meeting and has this report.
Recently, the Las Cruces Police Department hosted a town hall meeting with a twist. Dialogue was encouraged as community members got to choose a table from one of the topics. They included internal affairs, criminal investigations, recruiting and training, patrol, traffic, and community outreach. Once participants chose, they got to talk to professionals about the topic. After 30 minutes, they switched tables.
I'm not sure what prompted it, but we just thought about ways to engage the community more instead of just me talking up there and answering questions. I wanted to get my people involved more. They have a lot of knowledge.
LCPD personnel were at each table to answer questions and to provide community members with information. Academy Sergeant for the Las Cruces Police Department, Josh Milks, was at one of those tables.
I want the community to be able to ask those hard questions that maybe some people might be afraid to ask. I think it's important that we understand each other from a professional and respected standpoint, being able to communicate with different sections about issues or problems that affect your community, reaches out to us and lets us know as kind of the end user what we need to do to help provide better police service to the citizens of Las Cruces.
Norma Fernandez didn't know what to expect when she came to the meeting, but she said she was surprised by the outcome.
Actually, I came with my son and his wife. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I thought any interaction with the police department would be a good thing, and I'm so glad to see the response.
Chief Story started the meeting by listing crime statistics for the city. According to a second quarter crime report done from January to June of this year, there was an 18% reduction in violent crime, a 9% reduction in property crime, and a 10% reduction overall.
We're way higher than we want to be, but we've seen these reductions, and that's getting us back to where I hope, or where we were before the climb. So we still have work to do, but let's celebrate those little wins.
This meeting was not only a way to inform and include the community, but Chief Story said he hoped it would help shine light on issues and create a pathway to solutions.
We think we know what the problems are, and I think for the most part we do, but sometimes seeing it from the perspective of the community is good, and also there's problems we may not be aware of. And so, one, identifying the problems, and even more importantly, try to find some solutions.
This type of format allows for more transparency, according to Sergeant Milks.
I think it's important that as a law enforcement agency, we're transparent. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that police officers want to keep everything a secret. We want people to know exactly what we're looking for, what we're doing, and what our training entails, so that they can have a better understanding, because at the end of the day, we're all citizens of Las Cruces ourselves.
Las Cruces City Councilor Bill Matisse said he attends all the town hall meetings held by Chief Story, and shared something he found valuable at the meeting.
The crime is still a #1 topic, but we had both the community engagement. We had that was good about the public knowing that they need to actually report crime, in other words, make the reports, get it to dispatch so that there's a record.
During the meeting, police personnel and community members were writing down questions, complaints, cases, and suggestions, which, according to Chief Story, will go to the appropriate personnel and will be dealt with accordingly.
All the issues we're talking about, whether it's crime, homelessness, the juvenile issues, those are community problems. They're not just police problems. And so if we want to actually solve them, we have to come together as the police, the community, all the different organizations, our providers, and this is just one way to do that. So.
According to Councilor Matisse and resident Norma Fernandez, the recruiting and training section of the meeting was helpful.
You know what? I was really impressed with the recruiting and training. I didn't realize that now with social media, with the camera technology, quite a complicated, very sophisticated camera technology. And then it also does the reporting so that there's less time writing reports and more time in the streets patrolling.
I also asked about recruitment, especially with Hispanic Americans. You know, that I think it's very important that they be a part of this, and I hope they get more recruitment for that.
According to Sergeant Milks, getting more recruits is a priority.
For us right now, we currently have 26 cadets in our police academy. If we can have a couple of large academies like that following up, we can start to branch out into more specialized divisions so that we can have people being met at their need when they have an officer for a special problem.
According to Chief Story, the next academy will start in January, and there may be more meetings like this held in the future. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Abigail Salas.
And I'd like to welcome Las Cruces Police Chief Jeremy Story to Fronteras, A Changing America. Well, let's talk about that video we just saw, the town hall meeting. What are your thoughts about those kinds of meetings and of community engagement in general? Do they help?
Yeah, I think they do. I think community engagement is important. I think having those positive interactions with your community members is essential to having an effective police department. But that format in particular was very satisfying. I walked away extremely encouraged. I think it went even better than I expected it to go. And there's just a lot of good conversations and ideas floating back and forth. And I'm very happy with it.
When's the next one scheduled? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. Generally, we try to do at least 3 a year. The next one of the ideas that came out of from one of the citizens was to do the tables geographically. So I think we'll do it by council district next time, and that will probably be either the end of the year or the beginning of next year.
Well, in the video, and I'm going to update the numbers because we just came from a class that you just spoke as far as crime statistics for the city. In the video you mentioned for the time period between January and June of this year, updated for July. So for the July numbers, there was listed a 20% reduction in violent crime, 11% reduction, I believe, in property crime, and the January to June said 10% is roughly overall, something around that. Well, you mentioned that even with the reductions, there's still work to do. What are some of the things that you would like to see happen that would continue to bring those numbers down?
Well, we still have work to do. Even just from where we were in 2018, we still have significant work to do to bring the numbers down to that point. And that work's being done, but we need more police officers to do some of the things I was talking about at that class earlier. There's a lot of evidence behind certain things that police do that can actually impact the crime rate. And so hotspot policing, having programs where we do focus deterrence of our frequent offenders. We're doing those things, but we need to do it more to impact the crime rate.
Well, recently the LCPD asked lawmakers to address the issue of juvenile crime. 6 months after the Young Park shooting left 3 people dead, 3 of the 4 shooters were juveniles. Talk about the issue of juvenile crime and what you would like to see lawmakers address.
And this is something we're seeing nationally, so it's not unique to Las Cruces or even New Mexico, but it is a significant problem. We're seeing a level of violence that we haven't seen before. And I ran a gang unit where we dealt with juveniles that were engaged in gang activity, 10 years ago. It's different now. And, there's a lack of accountability in New Mexico. And part of what my street crimes officers played for the legislature during the Courts, Corrections, and Justice Interim Committee last week was their disregard for life and their belief that the system will not provide any consequence. They think they're going to get away with it because they have in the past. That has to change, especially for that group of kids who are committing these violent offenses.
Well, let's go back to the Young Park shooting and the timeline. About how long did it take for the police to arrive on the scene after the reports of the shooting took place?
I don't remember. I don't have the exact time, but it was within minutes. I mean, they were there very quickly.
Well, what procedural changes, if any, have been made since the shooting regarding police response in similar situations?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of the response of my officers in that situation. They immediately disregarded any potential danger. They started treating people throughout the park, in the parking lot area, and I believe they saved lives with their quick action.
Well, the incident, and I was not familiar with that being done at Young Park or any park, was apparently a car club.
Not a car club. Car club is different. So it was a group of cars for a car meet. Yeah,
like a car show. They meet.
Yeah, I think one of the things I said early on in the wake was unsanctioned car show, but I think that doesn't accurately reflect that the car clubs generally do not create problems for us. It's this group of people in a car meet or a car meetup that create problems for us because they're not doing it within the confines of the law.
Is that still happening in Young Park?
We have not had one like that since at Young Park or anywhere else. We've been actively monitoring social media and trying to respond if we get something like that, but there hasn't been one since.
Is it officially banned or?
Well, it's not officially banned because we have to abide by the ordinances and the statutes that exist in New Mexico, and there's only certain things that we can enforce. So it's not banned per se. Some of the behavior they're engaged in is banned, and that's what we can respond to.
Behavior being?
Some of the driving behavior, although the bar for reckless driving in New Mexico is very high, so we have to meet that threshold before we can take enforcement action, but some of that behavior was clearly reckless.
Well, let's move on to another issue. At the June 16th City Council meeting, several residents spoke out against police with high-powered weapons above and overlooking Albert Johnson Park. This is where the previous Friday there was a protest against nationwide ICE raids. They were placed in areas such as the top Brannigan Library and other places. And during the public comments at the City Council, one resident stated, quote, "The officers weren't just visible, they were endangering people downrange of their weapons," unquote. How did you and do you respond to those kind of accusations? And in hindsight, what, if anything, would you have done differently procedurally?
And I addressed this during that City Council meeting at the end, but when it comes to protests, we've been dealing with protests for years. I ran the response to the protests in 2020, and we've done multiple protests just this year without incident. It's kind of a nuanced issue, but specific to that, I addressed that having Overwatch is not a bad thing, especially when there were threats made to that group online that were pretty specific threats and direct. Having the rifles, being behind the rifles, I said was a mistake, and it should not have happened, and it will not happen again. That's really all I can say to that.
Okay. Well, moving on to mental health issues, let's talk about Carfentanil, the synthetic opioid that may be behind a spate of recent overdoses. I believe there was 21 in 3 weeks recently. What is Carfentanil and why has it become so prevalent?
Carfentanil is an analog that's similar to fentanyl. It's primarily developed and used as a tranquilizer for large animals, elephants, rhinoceroses. And so it's not approved for human consumption at all. It's very potent. I think the numbers they generally cite are 1,000 times more potent than fentanyl and 10,000 times more potent than morphine. So it doesn't take very much of it for people to overdose. Now, a little product goes a long way, so possibly that's why it finds its way into some of the drug supply from time to time. This is not the first time it's been detected in the New Mexico drug supply, although we still don't know for sure that those overdoses were directly linked or related to Carfentanil, but it's definitely a possibility.
So is it cheaper generally than fentanyl, or just is the appeal that it's stronger?
Well, if you think about it, like 10 grams of Carfentanil will go a lot further than 10 grams of fentanyl. So that makes sense to me, although there's a lot of risk with it because of its overdose potential.
Well, the light team under the fire department, how are officers are dispatched ahead of the team? How are they working together, police officers, the light team? How are they working together to address the mental health?
No, I'm glad you brought that. It's good to celebrate some success sometimes and not just negativity out there, but the light teams have been a huge success. The fire department has done a great job, all the people that have supported that financially and the program, but our officers love responding with light. They go purely to make sure it's safe for them. If they need to stand by, they stand by kind of in the background. If they can leave, they leave. But I hear officers all the time on the radio asking for a light team. They've embraced it and they buy into it 100%.
And for those not familiar with the light team, what are they?
I believe it stands for Lessen the Incidence of Grief, Harm, and Trauma. So it's a group of, it's a firefighter, paramedic, and a licensed social worker that respond together, mostly to calls involving someone in crisis, but they also do things like overdoses and unattended deaths, where you have grieving family members potentially. So they do a lot of good work.
Well, there's been a growing concern nationwide about militarization of police in certain cities under the Trump administration. Here in Las Cruces, there was a local resident wrote to us, KRWG Public Media, expressed his concern about 5 SWAT vehicles that he claimed that you had asked the city council to approve for state funding, citing that a captain from the Doña County Sheriff's Office, DASO, saying that DASO had 3 SWAT vehicles, 2 of them military style, primarily intended for use against barricaded shooters. How do you respond to the residents' militarization concerns?
Well, on this specific issue, which has been responded to, those vehicles, those 6 vehicles, are police cars. They're marked police cars, just like you see every day, Ford Explorers or Expeditions or F-150s. I'm not sure if he expects our officers to respond on horses or what, but they're police cars, so that's really all.
Well, Albuquerque has been identified as a possible target for the Trump administration to send federal forces to crack down on crime. As chief, if that were to happen here in Las Cruces, how would you handle that?
Well, my job is to make Las Cruces safe and try to reduce crime as much as I can. That's my primary focus. If I definitely wouldn't request that. If it happened, we have to work with our federal partners, especially the people we're already working with, FBI, DEA, ATF, to try to make an impact in Las Cruces that actually matters and is not just short-term, for short-term political gain, but has the potential to actually reduce crime in Las Cruces. So it's a difficult balance, but if it came, we find that balance.
Well, could you give an update on the ordinances last year on shopping carts and aggressive panhandling? Have those had a positive impact, and if so, how?
I think they have. Again, they weren't going to solve everything. They're intended to address kind of a narrow band of concerns. But if you look around, drive around, you're not going to see shopping carts like you used to. It's a rare occurrence. Before, they were everywhere. The amount of enforcement has been limited. I think last time I checked, there wasn't a single person who had been sentenced to either jail time or a fine. Everything else had been resolved through other means. And the city attorney's office has been prosecuting those so they can stay consistent and make sure that they address the underlying issues with that individual person by person.
And when you say other means, what?
Sometimes they make an agreement, and if they, it's dismissed without any formal sanction. Sometimes it's being ordered to treatment, and so there's different means that are outside of confinement or a fine. But it's been effective. If you look at Walmart before the ordinance was picking up in a week more carts than what they're picking up in a month now. And so that's one of the only actual concrete metrics we have, is that they're picking up a fraction of the carts that are abandoned around town that they used to.
Well, what is the status of the Real-Time Crime Center? Again, referring back to the presentation you gave in the class that we just came from across the way, you said it was 80% operational. Talk about the Real-Time Crime Center and what it will accomplish and how.
So 80% is my estimate, but we have the centers up and running. We have 5 non-sworn civilian personnel that are already working there. They've been here about a month and a half, and they're basically doing the training and responding to calls. So they're doing kind of on-the-job training and getting used to it. So they're already out there having some early success. And what it's supposed to accomplish and what it accomplishes in other places is, first and foremost, we want to prevent crime. If we can see something coming and get officers there to prevent it from happening, that's our goal. If a crime does happen, we want to be able to solve it and hold that person accountable and get the victim some justice, and then keep officers safe. Provide information to the officers ahead of time so they can make better decisions if they know who the suspect is, whether they're armed, where they're at. All that makes the officer safer, and it really makes everyone we're interacting with safer. More information is better.
And is it more camera oriented? I just saw a couple pictures in the presentation you gave of the center itself. What are some of the tools that you rely on?
So there's a combination of things. Cameras are a part of it, license plate readers, drone as a first responder, but they also have access to databases to look up information, get the history of that location, the history of the people involved, and provide as much information to officers as possible as early as possible. That's really the goal.
Okay. And final question, what issues involving crime would you like to see the New Mexico legislature address when the next legislative session kicks off in January?
I mean, to keep it simple, we need to address juvenile crime, and that means different things. That doesn't mean locking up every kid who makes a mistake. I still believe that the primary purpose of the juvenile justice system is rehabilitation. But there's a group of kids who are committing crime after crime after crime, and they're not being held accountable. That needs to change, and there's a bunch of different things they can do to help move us in that direction. When it comes to crime in general, I think we still have issues with pretrial detention and the way it's being implemented. Some of that is in the discretion of the judges, and that includes sentencing after the fact. We're not seeing consistency across the state. And I don't know what that looks like entirely, but we see a problem. We know that there is a solution that could come from a policy decision at the state. And so we need to at least explore that and see what we can do to not be number one in crime anymore. New Mexico should not be number one in crime. We have too many resources to be number one.
All right. Chief Jeremy Story from the Las Cruces Police Department, thank you for joining us and being our guest on Fronteras, a Changing America.
Thank you, sir.
From fire mask demonstrations to SWAT vehicle tours, Las Cruces recently hosted its annual National Night Out. The evening gives the community a chance to get up close and personal with different law enforcement agencies, first responders, and city and community organizations to learn more about the services they provide, ask questions, all while having fun and strengthening police-community relations. Senior TV producer Courtney Hill has more.
So my name is Juan Ibarra. I'm a sergeant here with the Doña County Sheriff's Department. I've been here for about 15 years. We're actually out here at National Night Out. We have brought some of our vehicles out here. This is our bear for the SWAT team. We have a crisis negotiations van over there for hostage situations. We have an evidence van here. And actually further down there, we have a DWI van. A lot of times, people don't get to see us and come talk to us and see our gear. And something like this is amazing because you have little kids, you have even adults that pass by something and they're curious and it piques their interest. And then, something like this gives those people a chance to come out here and to actually look, and kind of get involved and ask questions. And, we get to educate a little bit of people, and this is just amazing. We just love coming out here and being part of the community.
I'm Carol Bray. I'm the director for the Quality of Life Department for the City of Las Cruces. And behind us here, we have our senior programs operation. We serve over 250,000 meals a year to people who are stuck at home and cannot get out. So we deliver them in one of these trucks that I have behind me. And we're serving some aguas frescas tonight and just trying to bring a little coolness to this hot evening. Well, it's so important to think about safety. And I love the fact that we still do National Night Out. It's been going on for decades. We have here, everything from our installations in museums to police officers, the sheriffs, the fire department, everyone who works together to keep our community safe and healthy. It's important for us to communicate with our community and for them to see us at work.
We're here at National Night Out, and we're here encouraging people to take shorter showers. I'm a water conservation specialist with Las Cruces Utilities. The average shower head uses about 2.5 gallons of water per minute, so a 10-minute shower is 25 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. We're encouraging people to take a 3 to 5 minute shower. Great way to do that is sing your favorite song. Most songs, 3.5 minutes, shake it off, right? There's a 3.5 minute song. You get that song done, you get all soaked up, rinsed off, that song's over, get out of the shower. Shorter showers, everyone. Conserve water, Las Cruces, please.
My name is Troy Tudor. I'm one of the ground team members of the Mesilla Valley Search and Rescue. And we're out here for National Night Out because we'd like to introduce what we do to the community and connect with the community since we serve the community. So we come and search for people if they're lost in cities, mountains, deserts, wherever. And we also rescue people when they're injured in those same locations. Well, we do this for the community, so it's, we want to meet and greet with the people that we're actually serving and get to know them, and they get to know us. We want them to know our capabilities and that we're available if they ever need us.
National Night Out, this is something we do across the country to bring the community and a lot of different public safety agencies together, just have a good time and and recognize that the community actually is a close-knit, great group of people. It encourages me every year, but this year we have more participants as far as booths than ever, and the turnout looks great so far, even though it's a little hot, but turnout's been great. So it's encouraging. It reminds me just how good this community is and what a great city it is. I think it's a good reminder for not only the officers, the EMTs, the firefighters, but also the community that we need to come together to solve our problems. We need to rely on each other, and that we really do care about each other.
Thank you for joining us for Fronteras, A Changing America. You can find this episode and any you may have missed on our YouTube channel, which you can access at krwg.org.